Next to Gott, family always came first. Barbara Schwartz learned such from the cradle. That was why when Mom mentioned that Grossmommy and Grossdaddy could use Barbara's help this summer, she only hesitated briefly before accepting. Summer was her favorite season, a chance to soak the sun straight into her bones before the other 3 seasons dragged her indoors more than out. But traveling to Indiana would give her a chance to spend more time with her aging grandparents. It had been 4 years since she had seen or hugged either of them, after all. Owning their own business, they could only spare a few short days to visit. Barely enough time for giving proper hugs or catching up with the comings and goings of life. Barbara was gazing out the car window, having second thoughts about her rash decision to leave Kentucky, when her heart jumped out of her chest and landed on her lap as the driver slammed the car to another stop. She would have tried catching it if not for gripping the door handle so tightly. Letting out a shuddering breath, she dared a peek out the window again. At least right now, the car wasn't weaving and racing through traffic. Vehicles had come to a standstill, but along the street and wide road edges, bikes and people continued to buzz about in a hurry. She hadn't known what to expect coming here, but this was certainly not it. Shipshewana, Indiana, was the 3rd largest Amish community in the country, and Barbara was nearly scared out of her socks sitting in the center of it. She shifted her focus to the reason for her coming, helping her family. It seemed perfectly ridiculous now. What help could she be to a grandmother famous for her quilting? Barbara's lack of sewing skills hadn't gone unnoticed and often induced Mom's headaches. Her younger sister, Edna, was more suited for the chore. Too bad Edna was too young to travel alone, leaving Barbara her parents' only choice. Barbara ridiculed the thought. A woman your age shouldn't have such trouble with a simple needle and thread, her mutter said at least 3 times a week. Weren't there enough women who quilted in the world? What she would do to have a life not planned by her mother. Schwartz women were quilters. It was that simple, and Barbara was breaking the long stitched line of her inheritance. She was safer in a kitchen or mucking stalls than handling sharp needles or scissors. Barbara predicted she was equally going to be a disappointment in a whole different state. Anna Beachy not only designed quilts, sold quilts, and gifted quilts, she also taught quilting. No doubt about it, this was going to be one summer Barbara hoped flew by quickly. Reining in any what-ifs, Barbara concentrated on her current problem, not throwing up when cars decided to start moving again. She would do her best to help her grandparents, even if it involved sitting down with a needle between thumb and finger, which was much safer than standing with one. One could never be too careful. Sorry, honey, but this traffic looks to be sticking for a bit. Jim, the English driver her parents hired, shut the car engine off. The MEC had a horse pull all weekend, and now some famous singers in town. Attracts all kinds of folks. The MEC? Barbara wasn't sure what an MEC was. What she did know was how desperately she needed to be out of the car and in her grandmother's arms. She sucked in her bottom lip. At this hour, Mommy would be working. She glanced about, knowing that somewhere in this hodgepodge of store-cluttered streets, Mommy had her quilting shop. How far is my Grossmommy's quilt shop? Barbara asked, rolling down the window, seeking fresh air. When a few drivers blared their horns, she quickly rolled it back up. How unsettling to be around such impatience. It's just around the corner, not even a few 100 yards behind that white building there, Jim pointed,